Hi, girls and boys. We have another story for you to read. Kiki-riki and I are going to enjoy reading this with you. So let's begin. I want to show you a picture of the book. In this exciting new Christopher Churchmouse adventure, Christopher and his cousin Lucas are accidental stowaways on an ocean liner. But what will they do when Black Whisker, the pirate rat, tempts them with stolen food? Well, let's join Christopher and Lucas as they learn how to resist temptation in this book, The Stowaways. Christopher Churchmouse and his little cousin Lucas darted behind a pile of rope and slumped to the deck to catch their breath. The mice were getting exhausted from running around the big ocean liner trying to hide. "We'll rest here a few minutes, Lucas. I think it will be safe. The people can't see us back here." Christopher panted, taking a big gulp of air. Look at this. Look at all the people that they're trying to hide from. And do you see Christopher and Lucas there on the floor with all the rope tangled around them?
"What do now we do?"
asked his cousin in his funny way of speaking.
"I so want to come to America, my heart crying. I am so missed for my family."
Christopher looked at him with sorrowful eyes. "I know how you feel, Lucas. I miss my mama and papa too. But we couldn't help getting stuck on this boat, could we?" Lucas and his American cousin, Christopher, had been accidentally trapped on the ship when Lucas and his family arrived in America. The boat had sailed before the two mice could get off. He and Christopher had no idea where the boat was headed or when they would get home again. And look at them here. They're trying to encourage one another. Christopher leaned his head back against the wall. Looking up suddenly, he forgot how tired he was. "Look up here, Luke," he squealed excitedly. He was pointing to a lifeboat that was hanging above the ship's rail. "I think I found a place for us to hide." Lucas stared at Christopher and he looked up with his eyes.
"You be silly, Chris,"
he said with disgust.
"We cannot do. My family came over a whole big ocean on this boat. We had better place to hide than up high in lifeboat."
And look at them. See the lifeboat? I think that looks like a fun place to hide, don't you? "Well, where did you hide when you came over?"
"Not very good place.
Lucas admitted sadly.
Dark and drippy, but no people to throw us overboard,"
he said, brightening up a bit.
"I show you. It be down in the hull of the ship. Come on."
And look at them, they're going down. Into the bottom of the ship. Lucas scampered away with Christopher, following close behind him. Soon the cousins came to some steps and quickly skittered down them. When they reached the bottom, Lucas led Christopher to a wooden door and showed him how to squeeze under it. It was so dark inside that Chris could see nothing.
"Careful, Bee. It's always slippery,"
warned Lucas. "Ew, it smells in here too," Christopher whispered. "How did your family stand it for your whole trip?"
"We do anything to be free, cousin. We leave everything behind to come to your wonderful America. Come, I find our old mouse hole."
Just then, a rough voice sneered, "Well, if it isn't sweet little Lucas that came back to us. America's not so good as you thought, Lukey? Or did you decide you want to come back home to the old country?"
It's Pirate Rat.
Lucas whispered.
Don't frighten me.
There was the sound of shuffling feet in the half-darkness, and Chris knew that he was being looked over by the shifty-eyes gang of pirate rats. He admired the bravery of his cousin, who seemed to be unafraid of them.
We no bother you, Blackie,
said Lucas.
I find my friend in the kitchen, Pierre. He find us some food.
Ah, no need for that, Lucas, simpered Black Whiskers. We have plenty of bread and cheese. See? Look at this. Look at all the food. Lots of cheese and bread. When he waved his paw, the gang of rats lit a candle, and there before them was food set up on some old bricks. Christopher was so hungry, his mouth began to water, but Lucas put out his paw and said, "Stop!" And he did not want him to go and eat the food from the table. Then he said out loud,
America be fine, Blackie. My family be safe and they be free. A little trouble I had getting off boat, that's all. This be my American cousin Christopher Churchmouse. This be Pirate Rat, Black Whisker,
he told Christopher. Christopher's eyes were becoming accustomed to the darkness of the ship's hold, and he could see better now. Looking up, he saw the fearsome face of Black Whisker. The pirate rat had a patch over one eye and a big scar across his nose where no fur grew. Long black whiskers hung down, and he was huge. How do you do, Mr. Black Whisker?" the church mouse said politely. And Black Whisker threw back his head and laughed. "How do I do? As neat as I can," he sneered. "Hey, gang, we've got a little church mouse boy with us. Come on over and meet him." And here's a picture. Can you pick out which one is the Black Whisker pirate?
Thank you. No, Blackie, we find food ourselves.
Lucas said firmly. "Oh, come on, my little friends. Come, drink and eat with us, and you can be part of our gang." But Lucas shook his head.
No, thank you, Blackie. You know my family not eat stolen food.
"Oh, that's right," Blackie responded with a snarl. "So sorry I asked. I see now that your American cousin is a goody-goody church mouse like the rest of your sniveling family. Of course he wouldn't like our food since we steal it." Christopher gasped. The pirates steal their food? He thought, oh, what would Mama and Papa think of that? He was so glad that Lucas would not eat or drink with them.
Please excuse, Black Whisker,
said Lucas politely.
My friend in the kitchen be the chef's pet mouse. He will some scraps for us find. We go to our old mouse hole after we eat.
Certainly, Blackie said, bowing in front of them in a mocking way. If you prefer scraps to the excellent cheese and bread we enjoy, please give my regards to the chef, he mocked, allowing the two little mice to pass by them. Black Whiskers and the gang of pirate rats silently watched the cousins as they quickly walked past.
Under here, Christopher.
Lucas said as they came to the door.
This lead us to kitchen. Follow me.
Squeezing under, they came to another stairway. Lucas led the way up the steps and into a big kitchen. It was here the chef prepared all the food for the people on the ship.
Over here.
Lucas said, putting a paw to his lips. He signaled Christopher to be quiet. Then Christopher saw a man in a white coat and chef's hat. He was standing in front of a stove, stirring something. Sitting on the counter beside the stove was a white mouse. The mouse was dressed in a tiny white coat and chef's hat, just like the chef. Tiptoeing up behind the man, Lucas squealed loudly. And look at who they're meeting. Do you see the chef and the little mouse that was living in the kitchen? The man whirled around in surprise. His big spoon clattered to the floor. Can it be? Look, Pierre! Is this not our dear little friend Lucas? He cried, bending over and picking up Lucas. You come back to old Jacques, he cried, stroking Lucas with his thumb. And another little Lucas. Then he gently picked up Christopher and began petting them. He was happy to see them. As he said this, the pet mouse on the counter took off his hat and threw it in the air. And look at this. Look how excited Pierre, the mouse, is to see his friend Lucas and his cousin Christopher. Now we can be jolly again, he said. Lucas is back. But why are you here, Lucas? Did you not like America?
We be trapped on the boat, Pierre,
said Lucas sadly.
My mama and papa and little Narnie, they be free in America. My American cousin Christopher and I trapped on boat.
The chef seemed as glad to see the mice as was his pet mouse Pierre. My dear little mouse friends, welcome. But I am so sorry you are not with your family. They must be very sad, like old Jacques was when he thought you leave him, Lucas. But now we have another journey together. We? He said.
Oui means yes in French.
Lucas explained to Christopher.
Jacques and Pierre are from France.
It's very nice to meet you, Jacques and Pierre, Christopher said from his perch in Jacques' hand. He could tell right away that he would like Frenchmen and his mouse. And here is the chef holding the little mice in his hands.
We already made up with Black Whisker,
said Lucas to Pierre, who had jumped up into Jacques' hands also.
He offer us food and drink, but we say no.
Indeed not, Pierre responded. Those rats are a big problem for Jacques. They steal from the kitchen and make big trouble. But you and little cousin will be fine. Old Jacques care for you on your way to our country, France. So that's where the big ocean liner is headed, to France. And now for the finest of French cuisine, prepared by the finest of French chefs. Oui? Exactly so, said Jacques. Serve our friends the very best we have to offer them, Pierre. And they were hungry. They were ready to eat. Suddenly things began to happen. Jacques put all the mice on the counter. In a whisker of time, Pierre had set a tiny round table with a white tablecloth, mouse size, candles, and silver and china. And Jacques had them placed on the dishes, very small portions of food he was preparing. It was a feast fit for a king. And look at here. Look at the table that they set for Lucas and Christopher with candles and silver, and they're going to have a big feast. It looks delicious. Now eat hearty, my little friends, Jacques said, rubbing his hands together happily. This is your dining room. You will dine by candlelight tonight, not in the dark as the pirate rats do. Jacques and Pierre are your friends. We will have good time together on our way to France. We? He asked delightfully. We, Christopher and Lucas chorused. To think that they had been so frightened only a few hours before. They had seen no way out. Now they knew where they were going, and they had a wonderful friend to help them on their journey. Christopher and Lucas sat enjoying their delicious meal while Pierre served them and Jacques turned to his cooking. Chewing thoughtfully, Christopher said to his cousin in his most grown-up voice, I think I like French cuisine very much.
Oui, oui,
Lucas answered, laughing and winking at Pierre. This is going to be quite an adventure, Christopher thought. A French adventure, it seems.
oui, oui.
Well, I hope you liked this story, girls and boys. What an adventure Christopher and Lucas are having. First, for them to be stranded on the boat and then to run into those fearful pirate rats. And did you notice that Lucas had already made up his mind that he wouldn't eat their stolen food? The Lord Jesus wants us to stay away from bad things and to say no to temptations that Satan will sometimes throw our way. I thought it was wonderful how the little mice were honored by Jacques and Pierre. They had a banquet prepared for them, didn't they? Do you know that the Lord Jesus is preparing a banquet table in heaven for us and that belong to him? We can say no to Satan a lot easier when we know what the Lord is preparing for us who love him. Okay, enjoy your week. Bye-bye.